Today I am stoked to be talking Rage, including, most importantly, the now officially revealed Rage 2. Bethesda went ahead and dropped the first official gameplay trailer, which includes nearly 2 minutes of unadulterated, raw gameplay madness. This looks unfriggin' believable, guys. I've watched this trailer about 50 times now, and this is everything I ever wanted from a sequel to Rage, and then some times 1,000. I mean, I really enjoyed the first game. It wasn't an amazing game, it wasn't even a great game, but it was a very good game with some really amazing bits and pieces of game design that unfortunately never really got to spread their wings and fly. They never really got to showcase their full potential, albeit actually being quite good within their own right. It appears Rage 2 is finally tapping in to that potential and then giving us a bit more on top of that. This is a game that appears to have infinite potential when it comes to how great it could actually be, and the thing that has me most excited is the fact that it's being developed by not one but two studios. id, who has been known for generations now for their ability to create some of the best gunplay in the industry, and Avalanche, who has been known for Just Cause and their ability to create some of the most chaotic and diverse open worlds in the industry. And more recently with Mad Max, their ability to fill those open worlds with some pretty damn good vehicle-driven combat. It seems like we're going to get a bit of all of that in Rage 2. The gunplay, the vehicle combat, the crazy open world. And that's all very promising to me. The gameplay trailer just demonstrates it even more so. This is a game that is doing a lot of things and appears to be doing them really, really well. I'm hopeful that when we actually get in and play, it's all going to feel as good and play out as well as it looks inside of this gameplay trailer. Let's actually start, though, by talking about the story premise for Rage 2, because it's going to lead us into a lot of the gameplay stuff that we see inside of this actual trailer. For the most part, this is the same story, same setting, same world that we got in the original Rage. The idea being that an asteroid has annihilated 80% of the Earth's population and humanity's numbers are dwindling. The world is filled with bloodthirsty gangs that roam the open roads, and the tyrannical authority seeks to rule with an iron fist. In Rage 2, you're playing as Walker, the last ranger of the wasteland and a threat to their power. You've been robbed of your home and left for dead, and now you're going to have to rage for justice and freedom in an attempt to acquire all of the things you'll need to crush the oppressive rule of the authority once and for all. So in the first Rage, it's a similar concept. The authority pretty much rules everything. You wake up 106 years after being put in stasis inside of a underground shelter called an Ark. You're a former US Marine, Nicholas Rain. You've been given powers, if you will, through the use of nanotrite injections. That is exactly what makes me think that Walker, the character we're going to be playing inside of Rage 2, is also an Ark survivor. Because you see, you're going to have access to not just a wide variety of crazy guns, including rocket launchers, grenade launchers, the good old wing stick, more traditional weapons like assault rifles and shotguns, but also a selection of nanotrite powers. This time, they seem far more fleshed out than anything we got in the first game, including a ground pound, a sort of force energy push. We see the ability to super jump, and there's even an ability called overdrive that allows us to push our guns beyond their mechanical limits via the use of nanotrites. It seems like we actually get to see this demonstrated inside of the gameplay trailer while our player is engaging a bandit in what appears to be some sort of a bandit hideout. You actually see a sort of blue effect aura coming off of the bullets as they hit the target, and the target is actually being held up into the air, as if there's a huge amount of force behind the bullets being fired out of that seemingly traditional assault rifle. I'm also happy to see that upgradable guns are coming back into the fray here. The first game did an amazing job in giving us different ammunition types and different ways to upgrade our weapons to make them more kick-ass in certain situations. It was a huge variety and diversity boost to what felt like kind of traditional gunplay. If we get that on top of the nanotrite powers, on top of hopefully an even more fleshed out upgradable gun system this time around, and vehicle combat, there's going to be a lot of ways to play this game and a lot of reasons to play this game beyond just pulling the trigger to shoot stuff in the head, and that has me quite excited. Now, when we actually look at the gameplay trailer, there's so much going on here. Like, where do I start? Not only does this game look unfriggin' believable in terms of its graphical presentation, there's a huge amount of stuff going on with particle effects, lighting, just the way the sand is colored in different environments looks unreal. But All of that takes place across an environment that seems extremely diverse. This looks like a really fleshed out and unbelievably well-detailed world. When they do the jump cuts here and we go from one location to the next, we're seeing deserts with dunes. We're seeing rocky mountain type desert locations, sort of high mountain almost. We're seeing jungles, forests, swamps. This isn't just going to be one big barren wasteland. This is going to be one hell of an open world. I'm interested to see the scale of it all and how it's interconnected. There's the potential for this to be one of the best open worlds ever made just based on that diversity alone. And that's, of course, going to add a lot of value to the gameplay. You know, when you're not just driving around in the desert shooting stuff from dunes, you suddenly have forests to romp through. You've got trails within the forest to drive your vehicle down. That adds more variety to the vehicle combat. It all looks really quite special. I'm hoping that this open world and its diversity means that we aren't going to get just another sandbox. I don't need more Far Cry 5 Assassin's Creed sandboxes. I want Rage 2 to not just evolve Rage as a franchise, but to evolve the concept of open worlds. Give us something special here. Bethesda keeps using this tagline, saying that it's more than a shooter, it's more than an open world game, it's a shooter-verse. The idea that they're creating something much bigger, something much more special here. I'm hopeful that that's exactly the case with Rage 2. Don't just give us an open world with some cool locations and a bunch of fast quests. Give us something bigger. Give us something better. Show us what open worlds can really be. Show us how you're going to evolve the open world and bring us something far more kick-ass than we've seen before. Again, the variety, the diversity here bodes well, and we see a lot of that diversity and that variety beyond the gunplay and beyond the locations. Enemy factions abound. We've got a bunch of different bandits here, a bunch of different sort of punk-style factions even, and I love the use of color for a lot of these factions. I really do love the way that they're bringing more of these factions to life and embracing that concept of insanity. It reminds me a lot of the War Boys that we see inside of Mad Max Fury Road. This idea that, yes, it's a wasteland, it's violent, it's sort of dark and miserable, but people are insane here. People are fueled by insanity, some of them potentially on crazy drugs of sorts. You know, give us variety within the bandit factions. So I'm happy to see that we've got a faction that's sort of punk rock inspired, but we also see a group of guys that seem to be more nomadic, if you will. They're making their way through the swamps and the jungle areas. You know, they've got sort of ox antlers, ox horns on their backs. They've got big spike shields, and they also appear to have war dogs as companions. So enemy diversity seems through the roof. You know, beyond the bandit factions, we've got a variety of mutants, smaller mutants, standard mutants, super mutants with armor, and then we get to the mechanical creations, buggies, trucks, you know, tanks on wheels, mechs, freaking mechs. Basically, if they can build it and power it with a combustion engine, it's probably going to end up inside of Rage 2. So much good stuff happening here, guys. I could just go on. I could drool about this game because this is one of the most impressive gameplay trailers I've seen in a long time. For 2 minutes, they showed so much about this game, so much for us to dive into, so much for us to be excited about. I know that a lot of people weren't super excited about the live action trailer, but it did a good job in sort of setting the theme, letting us know that yes, this is a dark and dangerous wasteland, but there's also a bit of insanity. There's a bit of madness injected into it, and that was that live action trailer. And then they switched gears and they brought us over to the actual gameplay, and we get to see how that's going to be represented behind just one of the enemy bandit factions. You know, we get to see how we're going to have to deal with so much more. The Authority, we get to see glimpses of them in this as well. This is a promising reveal for this game, and I could not be more excited. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait till spring 2019. Spring 2019 is when we'll get to dive into this so-called shooterverse, and we don't really know much beyond that. Is it going to have multiplayer? Is it going to have co-op? You know, what's going to be the focus? Is it going to be single player? How are they doing with the story? You know, is this going to be very story driven? I hope it is. I want to see a lot of these bandit factions brought to life. I want to see them have their own leaders. I want to see them represented in the world through their use of different tools, different equipment, if you will, to engage their enemies. Bring this world to life. If you're going to call it a shooterverse, you better make it a shooterverse. Count me in. I am ready to die, as the trailer says. I could not be more excited, and spring 2019 just got a hell of a lot more promising. Let me know your thoughts on Rage 2 down in the comment section below, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
You have been brought here for a purpose, the most important task of your lives.